Hello and welcome to Braveheart Conversations.
where we learn the art of love through brave and compassionate conversations. I'm Jillian Aurora,
And I'm Marie Wallace.
and we are your hosts today.
So, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Braveheart Conversations. I'm Jillian Aurora, and I'm here today with my co host, Marie Wallace. We're
Hi
so
guys.
happy to be here with you. And thanks for joining us live, or if you're catching the replay, we're glad to have you as well. You can find us on all the places, Spotify, Podbean, iTunes. You can join our Facebook group, Braveheart Conversations. And today I'm really excited to be talking about compassion because it's just been on my mind lately as tensions have just risen throughout this year for a variety of reasons. And what got me thinking was I really try to take a walk every day, and I really enjoy that moment of fresh air. And occasionally, I will pass a few other walkers and some doggies, which really just warms my heart these days because I really miss my
Hmm.
puppy Apollo, who passed away in September, and so it's so nice to see a little puppy face. But it just got me thinking. Every person I pass is super friendly, and they smile and they say, happy afternoon or good morning or whatever, and and it's really refreshing. And what got me thinking is when I pass someone who's so cheery, I don't know anything about them. And it's a different experience than a lot of my engagements, which are now online,
Hmm.
where even if I'm just meeting someone, let's say on Facebook, I instantly see what they're about, on their feed, and maybe their political views and all of their opinions are straight out front. And we just have this ability to perceive very quickly if we're going to be having a contentious relationship. And what hit me when I was walking was that none of that's there. I just get to see the human being. I just get to see that raw happiness and emotion. And we don't see each other for our views, what we believe or don't believe. We just see the person for who they are and that they're friendly and kind. And I miss that.
That
And
human connection.
that's real, whether it's online or not. It's just we have stopped engaging that way. So I think that if we were to consciously, put all of that stuff aside and to say, this is just another human being, just like the person I pass on the sidewalk, that's super happy to see me on a walk. And um, we make such quick judgment calls as we're engaging specifically online. And I'd like for us to consciously put some of that away, put the judgment away, and see them as a human being instead of their views. Because we're seeing each other so much more for our views instead of just the essence of who we are. So, Marie, I'd like to hear some of your experiences too. Have you had any thought provoking experience? I feel like we've all kind of had to come back to center because we've had one hell of a year.
I just think because we are so much more isolated, and like you said, the focus is more streamlined into seeing one thing instead of the broader picture of our humanness, like you said. And we make quick judgments, and we're looking at all what we perceive as maybe flaws or disagreements or what's wrong versus what's right. Like when we're out and about, I agree with you. When we're out and about on our walks, it's so much different. The space is open, and we're just meeting people for who they are, and that essence, like you were saying, just enjoying that human connection and interaction. And it's usually not as guarded, maybe. It's just more of we're out in the elements, enjoying this beautiful day and enjoying what's really essential in the moment versus all the things that have been packed and put on top of us that unmet expectations, that heightened emotion, especially here during the holidays too, because the holidays just added on to 2020, right? So
Yeah, totally.
worried about finances and the unrest, and I don't go to the malls, so that's really thankful for me because I think that would add more of this. And
Yeah, and I do sense a lot of the time out in the community, there's this real like trying to assess, are you pro mask or not mask, or there's just like judgment for being in certain stores, or why are you out? Why are there's just so much to
lots of judgment. Yeah.
and I think that it would do us all a lot of good to remember compassion, and we have no idea what someone else has gone through. We don't know if they have a lung disease. We don't know if they're shopping for somebody who's sick at home. We don't know if they're, you know, that was one thing I remember getting some flack when all of the panic shopping
Oh
was
yeah.
happening. And I hadn't been to Costco in a while, and I was also shopping for two people. I was shopping for myself and my mom's household because we had decided to just have me go to the store instead of both of us. And so there were a couple people who made comments about how much stuff was in my cart. And we don't ever know. We don't know what someone's situation is. Um, and we've been so quick to judge based on our own situation and our own opinions. And, what's right for one person isn't necessarily right for everyone. And some people are choosing to stay home, diligently. They're not going anywhere, right? And then some
Right.
people um, feel that that's really detrimental to their own emotional health.
Hmm.
And we all have to choose what our own priorities are, because only we can really know what is going to be most threatening to our health. Um, and so just giving other people that bandwidth to make their own decisions without making it so bad and wrong and a source of judgment, I think will go just a very long way. And we spend a lot of time talking and not a whole lot of listening, right? And
Hmm.
so if we were actually asking the questions to
Being curious. Yeah.
being curious instead of making snap judgments, which creates defensiveness, right?
Hmm.
So if we were coming from curiosity, I think we would learn a whole lot more about each other and reasons for making different choices.
Hmm. And frankly, we don't really need to know their reasons, right? Stay on our side of the street and, allow them to do what they, although it is curious, I like seeing other perspectives. I do know several people staying home very diligently, mostly because they have illnesses that are very susceptible to being exacerbated with the pandemic. And so, yes, I honor and respect that decision to stay home. However, I'm also hoping for that to be reciprocated for me making the decisions that I need to make
Yep.
for my own health. And it could be a choice of emotional health versus physical health, or some of us really need that connection and that uh, interaction to thrive, right?
Well, and I think that's something good to remember too, is that we've gone through this for almost a year now, and we're all tired. And
Hmm.
people are short tempered and irritable, and that's really normal. We've gone through a whole lot. And so just extending a little bit of understanding and compassion,
Grace, yeah.
yeah, grace is really necessary and helpful. And I think of, Brene Brown's words, because we can't get through a session without talking
No.
about her. But generous assumptions, assuming the best of people, instead of assuming that they're out to get us and they're a selfish, awful human being and they're an idiot. That I hear so often. Instead of assuming that, what if we did assume, oh, you know what? What if they do have a lung disease? What if, they've got somebody sick at home? What if they're just trying to put food on the table? What if, if we are um, using our imagination instead of to come up with the worst scenario, but to actually come up with the best scenario.
Hmm.
I think that that's a great exercise. Um, because our imaginations have been really hyperactive this year and not in a good way. um, we've come up with a lot of um, a lot of suspicion about each other, about our government, about everything under the sun. um, and we can do that. It's possible that all those things are true, because anything is possible. But isn't it also possible to come up with scenarios that are positive? Because those
Well,
are going to be
yeah, I was thinking of that situation with you in the cart. What if you were the leader of a home, like a nursing home or something, and maybe your cart was piled high? It's that generous assumption that you were talking about.
Yep.
It's just, it's who you might be caring for. It could be a host of reasons that are none of my business.
Exactly. Yeah. And that has actually been the case as my mom owns several vacation rentals. And so she's not just stocking her own home, she's stocking like three other homes. So yeah, we make really quick assumptions about who's buying what and why. And um, so we don't know the backstory. We don't know where people are coming from. And so I think offering that generous assumption and assuming the best of people, um, really, I believe in manifesting, right? Manifesting our beliefs. And if we're always assuming the worst of people, that's what we're going to continue getting.
Hmm.
And assuming the best of people, yes, it doesn't mean that we don't also have some shadow to look at. And I don't want to say that just by ignoring bad behavior, it's going to go away, because that's not the case. However, if there is no bad behavior that we can see objectively, don't create it.
Right. Well, energy goes where focus goes, right? If I'm focusing on what's wrong in this picture, I'm going to get more of that because that's all my brain is going to, magnetically go to.
Yep.
Versus if I'm looking at the best of people, then I think I can enjoy them more and connect more and see the humanness and find those relationships, maybe growing up that relationship by connecting to our humanness versus all the things that are wrong, extending kindness and love and
I love that saying, where facts are scarce, imaginations run wild.
yeah.
And I think that that's been really true of this year. And we have to be careful of the story that we're creating in our heads, um, instead of like what we actually know to be true. Because we're throwing around a lot of things as if they're facts, but they're really just our brains trying to fill in the gaps, because we don't have all of the facts, we don't have all the information. And so we try to create it, we try to make sense of it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something to be aware of. It's something to distinguish. Okay, this is fact, and this is like the maybes. These are the things that my brain is just coming up with to try to make sense of this situation, and they're two different things. Um,
Just stories.
just stories. We're really good at creating the stories. Um, I'd like to go back to listening, because I think that that's such a important piece of compassion. Listening, curiosity, and so just reiterating some of the things that we might already know, but listening skills, um, like repeating what you heard someone say. I think I'm hearing you say XYZ. Do I have that right? Sometimes just that little bit of clarification can go such a long way because I don't know how many times I've said to someone, I'm hearing you say blah, blah, blah. Is that right? And they'll say, no, not really. And either it's because, maybe they didn't have the clarification when they were first speaking. And so we're kind of in this process together, right? Sometimes I'm speaking things as I'm figuring them out. And so by you repeating it to me what I said, I can clarify and go, well, no, that's not really what I want to say, or that's not really how I feel. So we're clarifying together, and it's really a safe way of having that moment of clarification. Did I hear you correctly? Instead of just jumping into what I thought I heard you say or what I know you said, right?
Well, and sometimes when you hear it back, you're going, "Oh, I didn't mean that at all," right? When you hear someone else's perspective, you're going, "Whoa, I didn't intend that at all." So thank you for repeating that back to me because now I know how it sounds on your end. And sometimes it's just a clarification of a word, a simple word, and you're going, "Oh, no, not what I intended at all. So sorry,
Yeah.
is what I meant."
Yeah, and I think just the power of questions is so profound versus statements. I hear a lot of people throwing around statements instead of, did I get that right? Am I hearing you correctly? Well, if this is true, then, this is what I'm curious about. That is creating dialogue instead of defensiveness.
Great communication. That's essential for communication.
Mhm. Yeah, and when we're shutting it down and we're just saying, "Well, you're just an idiot," and I'm just, your perspective is just,
It's the only way, right? You're saying your perspective is the only way,
Mhm.
right? I want to also bring up self-compassion because
Yeah,
I do believe, especially during the holidays, we're kind of rough on ourselves. Um, and the added layers. I just was thinking about some of the things that have happened this year have made things have caused an unrest. Things that we used to do, traditions that we used to carry out, unmet expectations. I'm just trying to think of all the things that have come up for me lately, and it's like it doesn't feel the same, and so it causes a disruption inside, and it makes me maybe more agitated, a lot more. My emotions seem more heightened. Feels like a lot of hustle and bustle still to meet some of those things. Mostly and disappointments, I guess have come up for me too. Like used to do it this way, and now because of all the things going on, I can't do it that way. And so there's some sadness and some maybe overwhelm and
I think there's also, I love that you brought this up because there's some judgment towards ourselves for wanting what we
yeah,
want. So I think there's been judgment around like, well, you're selfish and silly for wanting to have a holiday like the past because we're in the middle of a pandemic. So how dare you?
yeah.
I've heard some of that, kind of judgment.
Hmm.
We have bigger things to think about than your desire to have, the old time holidays. And I think that we really need to hold some space for ourselves to grieve those things that are different, no
Yeah,
matter how you cut it. Like, even if, people are trying to have a normal holiday, there's just a lot of barriers to doing that right now. Traveling is much harder, much different. Everything is different. So I think,
grief is big. Grief is huge, and acknowledging it it allows me to feel well the compassion towards myself, but to feel more human and okay for having that desire, for having that want like that. Just so I so miss people, and
yeah,
so yeah, it makes me more human and allows me to kind of balance some things out that I don't know, just like you said, I miss things. There are certain things, especially holidays, that are so people oriented, right? That's the reason for holidays is, yeah, just celebrating them.
We get to validate those things instead of making them bad and wrong. Like our desires really matter. And even though it can't be the same this year, and maybe it'll never be the same, I don't know. But we get to acknowledge that those things do matter and that they are a loss and that we're grieving them. Um, and we don't have to judge ourselves for wanting them just because yes there's some other things going on this year doesn't mean that they don't matter. um,
Then we get to get creative.
yeah, we get to make new traditions. We get to do things differently. I know this year has been interesting for me because I've put more emphasis on research and education. Like I have done more work around what did the holidays mean? Where did they come from? What are the really ancient traditions? That's always been fascinating to me, and so that's been a fun new change this year. And so I do think we get to fill in the gaps with something that's a little more creative. It might not be as social, but those are the things that I can do on my own that bring meaning and joy to me.
Hmm.
So I think that's something that we all get to do um, differently. I'm just checking to see if we have any comments. We're good. Um, there was something else I was going to say too around compassionate communication. Listening is a really big thing. I don't remember what I was going to say now. I lost that thought. I had it. um,
Well, I think another thing to talk about maybe is, sorry, I got distracted. Cars come down the road and I just like, oh. I think another thing to think about is maybe how uncomfortable some of those conversations get to be. Um, for clarifying, I've been involved in a few uncomfortable conversations where you don't really want to go out there and ask, but when you do, you get surprised. I've been very surprised by some of the conversations that I've had. If I wasn't willing to have it's just so uncomfortable, yet so vital to have those conversations because otherwise, what was your quote? Something about um,
where facts are scarce.
yeah, all the stories that show up, right? So just getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's
Yeah. And I think
so
that helped me identify what I wanted to say too, which was the compassion doesn't mean getting rid of all of your values and your opinions and your boundaries. They're not I think that tends to be a sore spot for people. They feel like if they offer understanding and compassion that then they are condoning someone else's way
right.
of life or point of view, which I think they're two very different things. And I can say to someone, I don't agree with you. And I can even disengage from the conversation. I can say, this doesn't feel productive to me. This doesn't feel constructive to me. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the conversation. I can still offer them understanding and compassion while doing that. It doesn't obligate me to stay in every conversation and follow down the path of every topic. I don't have to do that.
No.
Having compassion doesn't require that, and I think that tends to be a confusing point for a lot of people. um, I don't have to sit around for name calling. That's not part of an understanding conversation. I still get to walk away when things get dishonoring. Um, but even that being said, even a person that I disengage from, even a person that I say, I don't want to stick around for this unconstructive conversation. It's actually doing more damage than good.
Mhm.
I can still offer them understanding. I can still walk away and say, times are really tough right now. Nerves are really frazzled and people's tempers are short. And I know at the end of the day, I love that person and they're a good person that I cherish. Um,
Agree to disagree.
mhm.
I think the other layer that we always seem to come around to, as well as that forgiveness piece, is there's some forgiveness, maybe, I guess, for those differences and any harm that might have been caused. I truly believe the best in everyone, and I don't believe they intended to hurt or cause harm, but it does happen. And just understand that that comes from a place of either fear or unrest, or even that tenseness from all those emotions being piled on top of each other. And so I can bless that situation and forgive in that situation and just go, they probably have met their limit, whatever that is, and go from that point. Just
And things are triggering right now. There's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of people and institutions preying on fear right now. And so I think offering some of that understanding too, even when we do have to graciously bow out of conversations, to say, no, I'm not available for this, but I am also going to really hold that person in some grace. Um, we need a whole lot of that right now.
a whole lot of that. Bless 2020 for bringing those things. I think that's one thing, one pearl from the pandemic is that it brings in, more compassion and, or at least awareness and working towards compassion. So this was a very vital topic to have.
Well, and man, I value that so much more in other people. When I can see that in somebody else, I'm like, oh, it's like a warm blanket. It's so nice, um, to see someone else give the benefit of the doubt. It almost like makes me want to cry because it's kind of rare right
Mm-hmm.
now. And so seeing people come from that heart space instead of the panic and fear and really rigid judgment, it's so heartwarming.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be that. And I really think that we all can tap into that. We can all be that. It starts with self awareness and knowing when we're getting sucked into judgment and fear, right?
Yeah.
So, because
Unbrace yourself.
it always starts with us, always.
Always.
And, we saw a lot of our political leaders this year acting really poorly, and they're a reflection of us. We've been acting poorly. And so, you know, coming back to that grounded space, and letting it start with us, being aware of our
And
own.
the honoring space.
Yeah. And then we can extend that to other people. We can extend that compassion. So, man, I think that this is such a relevant topic right now. And I can't think of a time we've needed it more. I'm going to check one more time for questions. Don't see any on my end. So, um, we'll go ahead and wrap us up. Thank you so much, Marie, for having this conversation.
Thank you.
Um, So, with that, I just want to say we've got, like we said in the beginning, we've got every platform that you can find us on, find our replays. Join our Facebook group, Braveheart Conversations, for all of our past episodes and to catch us live every week, every Thursday morning. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week and stay cheery, stay compassionate.
Hmm.
Let it begin with you. And if you have any questions for us, please reach out. You can catch me at defytheaverage@gmail.com or Marie.
Marie at mariesgold.com. Yeah, please reach out. Peace
Love,
begins with us. Peace
yeah,
begins with me.
we love your questions, comments, topic requests, anything. Go ahead and send that over. With that, we love you all very, very much. And we'll talk to you again next week. Bye bye, guys.
Bye bye.